I had a neighbor. It was my friend's mother. My friend who lived up the street. It was her mother. She would her mother and my mother would take turns driving us to school. This was when we were in elementary school, and this was it was a rule. It was a rule that if you lived less than a mile from the school, you had to walk or get a ride. Mm-hmm. And it was after, I think we were in junior high or high school when they changed that rule because there was an accident. So my friend's mother, she would, and she was Italian, like she grew up in Italy and, moved here later. But she would go to church every day after dropping us off at school.
Yeah.
And this is when, churches were actually open 24 hours. Mm. You can walk into a church at any time. Now they don't really do that.
Yeah.
So, like what? I grew up with, the house of God is always open. Like, no, it's not. No, it's not. Because you're worried that a homeless person, somebody in need, might actually come in
to get out of the elements.
Yeah. Well, can't have that, can we? Yeah. Did you know homeless are they're people? Did you know that? Mm. It seems a lot of people forget that they are people too. Yeah.
All these laws, making it illegal to be homeless, which it's not. Yeah. Maybe lower the prices, but that's a whole nother discussion. So okay, sorry, it's been like mulling in my mind. Going way back to you were doing lawn maintenance and you went to a festival and you loved it and you wanted to do it full time. How did you pick that you were going to sell crystals full time? Going to
right. So I did.
I'm like, we didn't finish that.
We did not finish that. So anyway, I'm going to these festivals. I'm like, ooh. And around the same time, I had started making macrame jewelry, and so I had, I also had something else to offer rather than just like I'll work for you at the booth. Well, no, and see, the thing is, the necklaces I made were rarely with gemstones.
Really?
Yeah, they were beads.
Okay.
They were mostly beads. They were mostly I remember once, when I decided that I was going to make macrame jewelry, I was told about this really great bead shop called Bead Nicks in Brattleboro, Vermont.
I was going to say, that sounds really familiar.
Yeah. Yep.
That's cool.
And I took, it was a very special trip because that's really far. Brattleboro from where I was in Connecticut was like a whole hour and a half away.
Oh my goodness. So far.
Right. And so I went there and I bought a bunch of beads and a lot of clay beads, a lot of African trade beads, stuff like that.
Oh, cool.
But anyway, so I started doing that, and I started vending. Technically, I started vending. Technically, it was guerrilla vending, just walking around a parking lot selling my necklaces.
Oh, okay.
At Dave Matthews Band concert.
Oh, fun.
And at the ones in Connecticut in the early 2000s, it was risky.
Did you get kicked out?
No, I didn't get kicked
okay.
out. No. It was thankfully it was the years that I wasn't there, but the tailgaters rioted twice.
Why?
The first time, I don't know. Probably somebody drunk got into a fight with a cop and it just escalated. And the second time it happened, it was pretty much the same thing, but I understood because after the first riot, they decided, okay, well, when this concert's going on, we're going to have police in riot gear surrounding the parking lot.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, that's a way to escalate things.
That definitely is.
But anyway, so so I started selling my hemp necklaces at the parking lot concerts, and after I bought my beads at Beatniks in Vermont there, well, I said, oh, I can't go all that way to buy beads, and I found a place in my hometown. And the woman that had recently opened this shop, it was kind of like a hippie arts and crafts store, basically. She did everything. She did macrame jewelry. She did pottery. What else did she do? Oh, she made candles. She did everything that she possibly could. And I started buying beads from her. And I would get talking with her and found out, oh, she sometimes goes and vends at these festivals, and that's when I was like, ooh, can I work for you?
Oh, okay.
And she said, when I offered to work for her, she said, you know what, I'm getting too old for festivals. How about I just give you the stuff and you go to the festivals and sell it, and I'll pay you a percentage.
Wow. That's awesome.
Yeah. It was just like,
that's so cool.
Here's the thing. I had never worked a day in retail.
Oh, no.
At that point, it was the landscaping, but before that, it was food service.
So you got a crash course.
I got a crash course. I mean, obviously, I went to a few different events with her, where she showed me the ropes, and then she was just like, okay, here you go for it. And and it was one of those things. It was, it was a push.
You're fine because you can talk to anybody. You can talk to anybody.
Yeah, that was the thing. At the time, not really.
Oh, you were.
Not
that
really.
That came later.
Yeah, that did come later. And so that's I worked for her for it was less than a year. It was basically one season. I worked for her, and at the end of the season, I was like, okay, I'm not, it's fun. I'm having a great time, but I'm not really making money. I think I was getting like 15%, and
so it wasn't as good of a deal as you originally thought.
No, because you're
doing all that work and 15%, yeah.
Well, the thing was, it was the sales that I was making, like the most I had ever, the most in sales I had done at any of those shows was $1,500. So 15% of that is just over $300.
And you're working all long hours.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, but then again, it's like I'm hanging out at a festival.
That's true. So it's like,
working long hours. I can work as long or as short as I want to. I'm the one that opens and closes the booth. But yeah, so so I didn't make much there, and then that winter, I just found little odd jobs here and there for a while, and then the following spring, there was another vendor that I had met while I was vending before, and I was telling him about this one weekend. Oh yeah, last weekend I went. And I did this show, and then that show, and then this club show, and this show, and he was like, and I remember him saying this to me. He's like, "Wow, that's impressive. If it weren't against vendor etiquette, I'd scoop you up and have you as my vendor." Like, and I remembered that. So when I was no longer working for her, I went to him and I said, "Hey, you still want somebody on the road?" And I ended up working for him. It was a better percentage. It was better product, and that's where the crystals came in. I was, he sold just about everything, but also he sold stones. He sold crystals. While I was working for him, and the thing is, at the time, I didn't really know much about it, but because I had it, it drew people in that did, and they would talk about it, and and I would listen, and sometimes I would ask questions, about certain things that they would talk about, and I would pick people's brains about it, like, okay, here's this thing that people are interested in, okay. They talk about feeling the energy. I don't, whatever. And then one day I like to point out that I was in a very mundane situation, having a fairly mundane conversation about stones with this guy. I was at a bluegrass festival in Connecticut. Okay, you really can't get much more mundane than that. And this guy comes up and he just starts a conversation about the stones. Oh, isn't it amazing how the earth makes these? And I go, yeah. And then he reaches in his pocket and pulls out a little quartz crystal and puts it in my hand. Now, mind you, at the time, all we were talking about was just crystals and how beautiful they are and how the earth produces them, and that's it. There was no talk about the energy or any kind of metaphysical. Nothing metaphysical whatsoever being spoken by this guy. And he puts this quartz crystal in my hand, and it sent a shock up my arm, like all of a sudden, like electricity.
Wow.
And I reacted, and he saw it, and he goes, "Yeah, that's been some places."
Was he a Reiki master? Did he do Reiki? Maybe he had used it.
I don't think so. You know what? I don't know.
Reiki masters,
I don't know.
when, like, if you touch their crystals or instruments, whoo, you're gonna get that jolt. Like,
it's just regular guy at a bluegrass festival.
That's been places.
Jeans and a t-shirt, and, yeah. And I was like, afterwards I'm like, yeah, that dude, he knew what he was doing.
Did he let you keep that crystal?
No, that was his.
He was like, no, that's why. Yeah. He just wanted to wake you up. He gave you that jolt.
That's exactly what it was. Yeah.
He's like, let's just help him out a little bit.
Yeah. And that was the thing. So I've always been a bit of a skeptic, like, not to the point where it's just like, I'm not going to believe them or regardless of whatever. No, it's, until I experience whatever that thing is myself, I'm going to question it. It's always how I've been. And so right there, that was like, oh, okay, that's what people are talking about when they talk about feeling the energy of the stones. Like, oh, cool. Right? Now there was another incident. Incident's a rough word for that.
Another experience.
There was another experience. Thank you. Probably a year. It was either a few months later or it was a year and a few months later, where there was always people always talking about how the stones speak to them, and I'm like, okay, I would accept when people said that. I would accept it. That's their thing.
Yeah.
They feel the stones talk to them, whatever, cool. Again, until I experience it, man, okay, it's for other people, just not me, I guess, whatever. I was, so for a few years, I would set up outside of a shop in Salem, Massachusetts for the month of October.
Of course.
Oh my God. What a wild, so amazing. So amazing. Just and so
chaos. He means chaos. It's a little too chaotic for me.
Yeah.
But fun chaos.
It's fun. Yeah, when you're in your 20s, chaos is
fun.
Yeah. So I was set up, and a friend of mine, the one who told me, like, oh, hey, you should talk to this shop owner and see if you can set up. He had been doing it for a while, and so one day, we're all set up, and I went to. Have you've been to Salem?
Oh.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. I've been in the summer. I've been in October. That's why I was like, October's a little too much for me. But.
So I set up outside of a shop called Angelica of the Angels.
Cool.
Okay. And she was on one of the little side streets off of Essex, the main pedestrian. So on Essex, there's that little
mall.
Yes.
The little mall, yeah.
Yeah. I hesitate to call it a mall.
I know.
Yeah. It's a mall. Whatever. It's shops indoors. Okay. Yeah. So that was the nearest restroom. So I go over there, use the restroom, and as I'm walking back, and now mind you, it's the end of October. I've made this walk several times. How many dozen times, and I'm coming back, and I feel this pull. There's right on the corner. There's what was it? It's called like the Witch's Closet or something. The Witch's Broom Closet is the name of the store.
Witch's Broom or something?
Maybe Witch's Broom, something like that. It's right there. It's right there next to another store called Pamplemousse, which is French for grapefruit. I don't know.
I don't think I've ever heard of that store.
Yeah. Anyway, and again, this is 07, 08.
Oh, okay.
So quite a while.
Yeah.
And but this Witch's Closet or whatever store, she has this neat little cart out in front of her shop with a bunch of random stones on it and everything. And so I'm walking back, and this cart that I've walked by a dozen times or more, all of a sudden something's pulling me in now, and I pick up this piece of spirit quartz, and it's all the moment I touch it, my friend who's right there, set up across from me, right around the corner, his name starts in my head. It's screaming,
wow.
Matt. I'm like, well, the skeptic in me. I got to be scientific about this shit. I put it back. I pick up another completely random stone. Silence. Nothing. Pick up another one. Silence. Nothing. Pick up another one of the same kind of stone. Silence. Nothing. Pick up that first one. Matt.
Oh my gosh, I was talking to you.
Okay, I get it now. How much is this? Okay, here you go. And the thing is, I'm not flashy like that. I just go, she wrapped it up and put it in a bag, and I get back to my booth, and I go to my friend, and I go, here, that's for you. Like, huh? And I told him what happened. He was like, and he understood. Oh, all right, right on.
That's so cool.
Like, okay, and now they're talking to me. Okay, cool, great.
That's too funny.
Yeah, and so I don't know if it was that same year. I mean, so your original question was what got me into crystals, and basically
all those events.
All of that leading up, and I can't remember if it was that same year or if it was. I think it was the following year. It was the last year that I set up in Salem, and it was actually Halloween night, and there was it was the afternoon of Halloween. It wasn't nighttime yet. So it's Halloween. Everybody's there. Everybody's dressed up. Everybody's just having a great time. And this woman, she comes up to my booth, and I can tell that she is not there for the festivities. She looks like she just got out of whatever crappy job that she works. And she starts telling me this story about the situation that her and her son are in. And it's just like, I don't remember any detail of it whatsoever, just that it was really like, oh my God, I couldn't imagine dealing with this. Mm-hmm. And she finishes telling the story, and then she says, I was raised Christian, and I've tried praying about it, and that's not working, and I've tried this, and I've tried that. Somebody told me that that crystals can happen. Oh, like, wow! This random stranger, just came up to another random stranger on the street and told them very horrible and private stuff that they're dealing with.
Their life story, yeah.
Yeah. And oh my God, like I have this feeling of like I gotta help this person.
Yeah.
You know, and I knew that she didn't have much money to spend. So I at the time with the metaphysical properties of the stones, I was not that well versed in them. I didn't have that much knowledge about them. So but I had my book, and I went into my book and I found that's the thing. Like I said, I don't remember one detail of whatever that horrible story was, but I do remember that the stones that I suggested for her totaled about $11. Oh, not about, but exactly $11. Like I remember that.
Wow.
It's so weird. And what it is, it's I guess I've always been able to ground other people's stuff.
Mm-hmm.
There are people, it's like, I can sit here and tell you about some horrible situation that I'm dealing with. And there are people who will like hold on to that and then suffer somebody else's experiences for themselves. Mm-hmm. They're holding on to that. I've always been able to just take it, process it, help where I can, and then
release it.
and then release it. So it was that day, it was that evening was when I realized, like, oh, okay, so that's what I'm doing this for. Now it's not just, hey, I'm having fun at festivals and so and stuff. It's I have a purpose. Mm-hmm. Like, okay, good.
You're healing people just by being there for them.
No.
I am holding space.
I'm yes.
Holding space,
holding
which allows them to then heal themselves.
Exactly.
Which is what any good healer does.
Correct. Yes.
Because it doesn't matter the modality, if it's Reiki or hypnosis or crystals or prayer. That's really where the magic is. And all of those things is that
you're teaching and empowering people to heal themselves.
Exactly. And that's the key.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's really cool. That shift from this is fun to, oh shit, I'm helping people.
Yeah.
But sometimes, you know what? It's in that fun, in that place of fun where a lot of healing can happen.
Oh yeah.
It doesn't have to all be like serious.
Right. And that's the thing. And that's the thing that I found over the years was that in the more fun situation, that's when people are more open to it. Mm-hmm. If they, if I was just, like I can't even think, like being at festivals, people are,
they're having fun and they're open.
They're having fun.
Yeah.
They're more than having fun. They're in what most of the time they feel is a completely safe space.
Yeah.
And like you said, they're more open to it. Rather than just
they can step outside their normal lives. They can step outside of their whatever preconceived notions. They're like, This is the festival. We're in festival mode, so let's try something new. Let's pick up this crystal, and maybe they'll go back to their mundane lives or their Christian, because it doesn't matter. Like you said, spirituality. People, when you're Christian, you can work.
Own personal relationship.
You can work with crystals.
Your higher power.
Yeah. There's a lot of people, a lot of the readers back in Phoenix that I worked with, they were Christian. Mm-hmm. But they still love their gemstones and tarot cards, and it's not mutually exclusive.
Right.
So well, thank you, Sean, so much for your time today. It was a pleasure.
You, Sarah.
Was there anything else you wanted to tell us about your store? Or?
I mean, we're here on Main Street in Roswell, and see, I don't like to ring my own bell, but
that's what this is for.
We have one of the most eclectic. We have one of the most eclectic displays and selection of gems and minerals. I mean, I say in the Southwest, but probably everywhere.
And they're open pretty much 365 days a year. Do you ever close? I don't think they're ever closed.
So Eclectic Treasurez, we close now on Christmas and Thanksgiving.
Oh, okay.
Because I can only be here or there.
Oh, okay. So Alien
and-
Enchantments
yeah.
is open 365.
Yep.
Okay. And Eclectic Treasurez is open 360.
363.
Yeah. So
I
anytime you
haven't
come
figured
to
out
Roswell-
how to clone myself.
Maybe soon that will happen.
No.
No. Okay. Yeah. All right. Well, thank you, Sean.
Thank you.